back with me. Mark, I need to get your reaction to what's happening. In the last 24 hours, between BuzzFeed and others, we're reading about cruel and inhumane treatment. Daily Beast saying that there are women who have been said if they want to get reunited, they've got to pay for DNA tests. There are pregnant women that said they've suffered miscarriages because of the inhumane treatment. What in the world is going on?
Well, not only is it inhumane, as you and I were discussing off mic, it's so unnecessary. Because as I was just listening to Mariana, and I commend her on her stalwartness and her reporting and being there, what did they think the end result was going to be? So you separate all these children and put them somewhere. What is we supposed to do with them? Where are they supposed to go? Are they just going to automatically disintegrate somehow? There is nothing human, evangelical, Christian in any respect about this. And the president, again, has showed his hand. I think he said last night, if you want to stop this, don't immigrate, don't come here to the United States.
Yes, not answering the question. When he was asked, how are you going to reunite these children, he said, don't come here.
Don't come here.
Begging the question, well, what are you going to do with the thousands that are here? I want to share what Alex Azar said last night. Take a listen.
We are happy to work. We want to be transparent. We have nothing to hide about how we operate these facilities. Our grantees, it is one of the great acts of American generosity and charity, what we are doing for these unaccompanied kids who are smuggled into our country or come across illegally.
Okay, so here's what's 100% not true. They're not completely transparent. I was in Texas 2 weeks ago. There wasn't a snowball's chance in hell that I was going to get into one of those detention centers or see a little boy or a little girl. Right. But he's conflating two issues, saying that it is an act of generosity that we are taking these unaccompanied minors and fostering them and finding homes. We're not talking about unaccompanied minors. Yeah. We are talking about where are the children who are ripped away from their mothers and fathers, the 1 and 2 and 3-year-olds defending themselves in a court of law.
Well, you know, that's why you're here. I didn't see that whole clip. I don't know whether Wolf pushed back, but he needs to come on your show and say that out loud, because I still think the role of those of us who are journalists or pretending to be journalists is to deal in facts and to raise those questions. What are you talking about, unaccompanied minors? That's not what these children are. You can't just come on television and say that and get away with it. There was a time when politicians and agency heads couldn't do it. It looks like people can get away with that now, and they can lie and make things up.
On Fox News, because when I leave this newsroom, when I go to New Jersey, when I sit at dinner with people and they say, well, I mean, it's these parents who are just pushing their kids over the border, and it's absolutely not the case. But when Alex Azar conflates two issues, or the president just says, well, they're all coming here illegally, even if you came illegally, it's a misdemeanor. You shouldn't have to go through what these people are. No,
you're absolutely right. And it's a stain upon this country. And even though they may say that the detention centers are nice, we know they aren't. We can't get inside of them. But there is nothing they can do for these children to supersede the irrevocable and indelible trauma of being separated from their parents.
Does it give you concern about this young generation of people and the feelings they're going to have towards the United States?
Of course. And, you know, I would like to think that young people may not have the worst feelings at all, but you can't, on the one hand, propagandize that, as the Hannity White House and Trump and them do. You can't, on the one hand, propagandize, Stephanie, that the whole world is against us and they don't like our way of life, and then do things like this to perhaps create a culture of young people that actually does not like the United States. So that's exactly what they're doing. That's what the Trump administration is doing. That's what they're feeding into.
The question I can't answer, if these immigrants coming through are all gang members, rapists, and murderers, what jobs of ours are they supposedly stealing?
Right, and with gang members and rapists and murderers come with their children. These people are fleeing crime and political violence in many of these countries. These are the victims. These are not the perpetrators. And it's clearly not these children. But they have turned, these children and these families have become double victims. Victimized in the places where they're coming from, and then victimized again once they get here by the United States.
You're an optimist, and so am I. Where do you believe this policy comes from? Who does it serve?
It serves, just like everything we've been talking about today, NATO and everything else, that quarter of the country that watches Fox News, that he can count on to go vote for him, that likes the idea of a president being this lone wolf pushing back against everybody.
But do you really believe that there are that many Americans that are simply anti-immigrants, anti-diversity, anti-allies. I'd like to believe that there must be some misinformation, because we have to be smarter and more thoughtful than that.
I would agree, but note I said a quarter. And if there are those who don't fully believe that, or who are adjacent to it, or are susceptible to Fox News, it's enough to continue to enable him. And that's exactly what we have. And it's shameful. Of course, I believe most people at the end of the day, when faced with it, have to be human beings and would not want that to happen to young people. But it's just enough to keep him going. It's entertaining. It's, again, that reality show. And they want to hear what he has to say, and they want to believe it. But I would just say to everyone, it's definitely wrong. And for those especially, because we know a lot in that corner call themselves religious and spiritual evangelical. This is not what God would want. This is not what Jesus wanted. He said, you know, suffer the little children to come unto me. This is not the way to treat these children. If nothing else, whatever you may think about immigrants, which is wrong, this is not the way to treat children.
This is not about politics. It's about decency. And I would like to believe that we all put decency first. And one final point, a patriot, because that word gets used often. A patriot is someone who defends the values and honors of their country. And this is a country where people are united, people are good,
right,
and they care about one another. So we need to take a closer look at what it means to be a patriot, and we all need to work together, and together we're going to rise. Mark, thank you.
That'll preach.
So
Amen.
much. Thank
you.
You know how I always end this show with some good news, because no matter what, there is always good news somewhere.